joining us, Boston. This is the Retirement Revolution for you with Rob Guy, financial advisor and the founder of Tax and Investment Advisors. I'm Spike Spangle. Rob, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good because I'm very excited about doing our show today, Retirement by the Numbers.
Yes.
You know, come on. As we get older, the birthdays, the anniversaries, all those start to add up. Maybe we don't celebrate as many of the birthdays and so on, but there are some big numbers in retirement planning that we should really pay attention to, and I wanted to ask you about a few of them. Sound good?
Sure. Yes.
All right. Let's hop in. One of the first numbers, since we're talking about retirement planning, you wrote down, because I started in the 60s around Social Security. You took me all the way back to 59 and a half.
Yes.
What's with the half birthday here? What's happening at 59 and a half?
Yeah, usually around 10 or 12, we stop the half birthdays, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, 59 and a half actually is a very important number when it comes to retirement planning, because that's the age at which you have control over your retirement account. By that, I mean, prior to 59 and a half, if you have a 401k, for example, you have to leave it in the 401k. The IRS, unless you leave that company, says that money needs to stay there. But when you hit 59 and a half, there's something called an in-service distribution. What an in-service distribution says is that even if you're still working for company ABC, as long as you've reached age 59 and a half, your retirement account is now portable. That means you can take it out of your 401k and roll it into your own individual retirement account. That doesn't mean you'll stop adding to your 401k. You'll still keep adding to your 401k, but there may be reasons why you might want to take a portion of it and move it into an individual retirement account. And prior to 59 and a half, you really would have had to leave the company before you had the right to do that.
Yeah, and if you're leaving the company, you can roll it out, but it's still not really access to that money, and there's a big penalty on it.
Right.
So the 59 and a half, but you're not suggesting necessarily at all taking money out and using it.
No.
You're saying 59 and a half, roll over. And do you think this is a positive thing for the individual investor, as opposed to just leaving it in our retirement account at work? Are they saying, hey, there's a whole world out there and you're closer to retirement.
Right.
Go look for some other possible options.
Right. Well, in addition to being able to roll it over, you can take it out penalty-free at 59 and a half. So that is another consideration. When you turn 59 and a half, not only is it portable, but it's available to you without penalty. So that is a big one. But you know, there are reasons why someone might want to take some of their 401k and roll it into an individual retirement account, because it opens up the universe of investment opportunities to you. Now, you have to look at your unique situation and fees and risks and all the other things that go into that, and make sure you consult with a professional. But that option is now available to you. Maybe you have 15 mutual funds that are available to you in your 401k. Well, there are thousands of individual stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, CDs from hundreds of different banks, corporate bonds, all sorts of things that you can invest in an IRA. So you're really opening up the universe to yourself of more options.
All right. Next, the last thing is I want to know, why did they give it a half birthday? What's with the 59 and a half? It's hard enough to kind of remember all of these big numbers in retirement. They give it a half birthday? Just ridiculous. I won't make you answer that one.
I wish I could. I can't get in their head.
Yeah, why would they do that one? All right, next big number on retirement birthdays and dates for you to remember, 62. What is our big significance on 62?
Well, 62 is the first age at which you're eligible to start collecting your Social Security benefits. So you may have started working at 22, and you've been contributing through your FICA taxes to Social Security through all those years. Well, as soon as you hit 62, now that money is actually available for you to turn on that income stream if you want to. Now, you'd probably only do that if you were going to retire early, because there's an earnings penalty. If you are collecting Social Security and you're under what's called full retirement age, which is either 66 or 67, we'll get to that. But if you're under that full retirement age and you're collecting Social Security, if you have earnings that go over certain limits. Those limits are pretty low.
And it's pretty. It's basically around the amount that a part-time ice cream scooper would make, right? So it's over something like $20,000 in a year.
Yeah.
You have to give it back. They call it a tax, but it's a penalty, really.
It's a penalty. It's the earnings test they put to it, and there's a penalty if you go over that amount. And like you said, it's very low amount that hasn't been adjusted since the 80s for inflation. So it used to not affect that many people. Now it affects just about everybody. So if you plan on continuing to work, even consulting or part-time, you really want to look at what your income is going to be and make sure you're not going to be subject to the earnings penalty.
Rob, just from what we read on the interwebs, it seems like a lot of folks are chattering about taking Social Security earlier, worrying about it, concerned that it is underfunded. And these come from reports from SSA.gov themselves, that the Social Security Trust Fund could be underfunded by as soon as 2032 or 2033.
Yeah.
So this seems to be a little bit more of a trigger of why people might want to be taking their Social Security early. Say, hey, I'll take it at 75 cents on the dollar as opposed to zero. What are your thoughts? I know you don't have a crystal ball. I know you don't control Washington, D.C. Right. What do you think might happen?
Well, I think that they're going to find a way to give seniors their Social Security checks if they want to stay in office. I don't imagine, if you get your Social Security statement, which everybody should go to SSA.gov and get a copy of your statement. I actually found a mistake on mine, so you want to go through it and make sure that all your earnings is being correctly recorded. But you don't want to get into a situation where you're going to find that you're going to take Social Security early, and then you're going to reduce the amount you're going to get from Social Security for the rest of your life fairly significantly. If you take it at 62 as opposed to, let's say, your full retirement age is 67, well, you're going to get 35% less for the rest of your life. That's also affecting a spousal benefit and also affecting a survivor benefit. So again, if you're working, you're going to get penalized. And even if you're not working, if you take it early, you're going to take a pretty significant hit. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. If you're not working and you're retiring early and you need that money, it will help take the pressure off your portfolio. Maybe it makes sense for you to do that. But that whole history of the Social Security Trust Fund, a lot of people don't even really understand how that works. They realized back in the 80s that there was going to be a problem paying Social Security benefits for the baby boomers because there were so many of them. And the way Social Security works is people who are currently working today are paying the benefits of the people who are retired. Well, Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill got together in the 80s and realized, oh boy, we're going to run into a problem. We need to do something. So they started subjecting up to 50% of your Social Security as taxable income. And they started putting that money in what they called a Social Security Trust Fund. And then again in the 90s, we had another analysis where they're saying that worked out pretty good, but we're still probably going to run out of money. So we had Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton got together and they decided, okay, now we'll start taxing up to 85% of your Social Security as taxable income. Well, that worked out pretty well. For many years, they built that trust fund up to over $1 trillion. And for a while, we didn't need it. Then all we needed was the interest to supplement the current workers to pay the retirees. Then we started dipping into the principal. And by 2032, 2033, by some estimates, that entire trust fund will be gone. And there'll only be enough money coming in the front door to pay out 75 cents or so out the back door. So something does have to be done. But I think there are certain options that could be done if the politicians can, find the will to do it.
Right. And every time you hear about, there's no budget, there's no federal budget, they do something at the 11th hour, they do a stopgap for 3 or 6 months. Right. I do not want to see that happen, but I have a feeling we could see things like that.
That's what's going to happen.
But when it comes to choosing your Social Security as a financial advisor, do you mind having this conversation with folks? I mean, don't they just go down to the Social Security office or go to SSA.gov and turn it on themselves?
Well, they could, but if they haven't done an analysis of their income strategy comprehensively, looking at all their other sources of income and how much they might need as a spousal benefit or as a survivor benefit or even just for themselves, figuring out where all their income is going to come from, what their income needs are going to be. You really want to nail that down. Making the wrong decision on when you claim Social Security could cost your family hundreds of thousands of dollars.
All right. It's a big number, and if you're looking right away at that 62, before you turn on your Social Security out of an emotional gut reaction, please speak with someone who is independent, who is a fiduciary, who can help do all of your income analysis. You can call the phone number below, and when you do, we'll get you a complimentary copy of Rob's book. Our Retire Free book here, 5 different steps and 5 different freedoms of your retirement planning. You are watching the Retirement Revolution, but right now I want you to call 855-255-1128 and get started on your own Retirement Freedom Roadmap. More of the Retirement Revolution right after this.
What my firm is actually known for is removing the financial knot from your stomach. So people say, what do you do? I say, I remove the financial knot from your stomach. And the way we do that is we take a comprehensive look at everything you're trying to accomplish, beginning with the end in mind, and then we put together a very specific income strategy, investment strategy, tax strategy, healthcare strategy, and estate and legacy plan designed uniquely for you. Think of it like this. If you were, say, riding your bike and you fell off your bike and you broke your hip, you wouldn't go to your generalist for that, right? You wouldn't go to your primary care physician. You'd get a specialist to do that. Okay, there's a lot of generalists in my town, but I'm a specialist. So my dad was in the business. I also have a brother in the business. I'm in the business, and now I've brought my 2 sons into the business. So some people are familiar. Everyone in their family is a cop or a firefighter. Everyone in my family is a financial advisor. So we live it, eat it, breathe it every day, and we offer unique, customized solutions in a boutique situation to a limited number of high net worth people who are really looking to minimize taxes and get the most out of life from their money.
Welcome back to the Retirement Revolution with financial advisor Rob Guy. He's the founder of Tax and Investment Advisors. We're doing some of the birthday anniversaries of retirement planning. We'll get to some of those numbers, but you love sending out the book, right? Usually, so this is actually a first step in the process. Somebody reaches out and you mail them a book first, even before they come in?
I do. You know, that book gives people a pretty comprehensive idea of what we do, how we do it, what our philosophies are, and what some of our strategies are. So, you know, when you pick up the phone and you call the 855-255-1128, you schedule your appointment. What we're going to do is right away get you a copy of that book. We're going to put that in your hands. That's going to help answer many of the questions that you may have. Then you can come in prepared. So I had a gentleman did just that, right? He scheduled his appointment. We sent him out the book. He came in. He had it highlighted, dog-eared, everything, all sorts of different things that he had underlined and information, that things that he wanted more information on. I just love that, right? Because it shows me that they are engaged and that the information is valuable. So one of the things that we did was he had highlighted something on when to claim Social Security. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about well, yes, you could claim at 62. Some people can claim full retirement age at 65, but for most people, it's 66 or 67. You know, they've raised the age at which you can claim full retirement age Social Security. Well, with this gentleman, we were able to do a very thorough income analysis, look at all his other income sources, and put together a strategy that made sense for him on when he should claim Social Security. So because that gentleman might have had age 67 when he was appropriate for him to claim, maybe you would be age 70. You can claim as late as age 70. Every year that you wait, your benefit goes up by about 8% per year. So one of the things that we love to do is send out that book, have people have an idea of what their different options are, and then we can make the most use of our time analyzing your unique situation. For this gentleman, when we were able to show him, based on all his other income sources, his income needs, all the different analysis we were able to do, we were able to pinpoint the exact right age for him in his unique situation to claim. And that was going to make a difference of many tens of thousands of dollars to he and his wife.
And I know that this answer and how you evaluate it is very personal to the situation.
It really is.
Is some of it based on longevity? Is it based on what they have in savings? Is it based on if their spouse is also going to be drawing, from the spousal benefit, or if they had their own independent? Yes. A lot of those variables.
Those are exactly the right variables, right? So if somebody doesn't have a long life expectancy, they might want to turn it on earlier. But other people come in and I say, well, we're going to run an income analysis for you. We're going to run it out to age 90. And they say, 90, 95, 97, 100. I have longevity in my family. That's going to make a big difference potentially on when you might want to claim. On the other hand, somebody might come in and say, nobody in my family's lived past 79 or 80. Well, that might make a big difference too, because if you wait till age 70 to claim, the break-even age could be in your early 80s. Now, if you're going to live till 95 or 98, that's a lot of extra money you'll get over your lifetime. But if your life expectancy is 79, that's not going to work out so well for you. It also depends on how much income you're going to need, when you're going to need that, when you're going to retire. There's a lot of different variables.
What you have saved, are we using those other investment accounts?
That's right.
And you don't mind, with the Retire Free and your 5 steps approach, actually putting the Social Security plan into the rest of the income plan.
Oh, it's a very important part of the income plan is when should you claim Social Security. The conventional wisdom is, you go down and you meet with all your buddies at Dunkin' Donuts and they're all saying, take it now, the thing is going out of business, get as much as you can before it's gone. That might be true. But, the reality is the politicians, I assume, will get it together some way, somehow. They'll make it so at least my generation, our generation, are going to probably get our checks. My kids, that might be a completely different scenario. But I wouldn't make an emotional decision or an irrational decision based on fear or based on hearsay. You really want to look at the numbers themselves. And when we do the what-if scenarios in your income plan, some people do have us run an analysis that says, what if I only get 75 cents on the dollar? How would that affect my retirement? Well, you might want to know the answer to that. All
right. Well, thank you for covering those numbers on there. I think that it actually should cover enough on our Social Security. 70 is the max. I thought I'd jump up to 72 and 73. 72 was where RMDs were, required minimum distributions. It's currently 73. Yeah. Right? This is a big you have to start taking that money out, right? Yeah. Well, for most of my career, you actually had to start taking it out at 70 and a half. And we were talking about the halves and where they come from. Well, the rule actually is April 1st of the year following the year you turn 70 and a half. So, Yeah, again, I always wanted to know who wrote that one. Right. But then, as part of some of the tax bills that they've passed, they've increased that age at which you need to start taking required minimum distribution. So depending on when your birthday is, it's either 73 or it's 75. So if you are going to start thinking about how long can I potentially delay taking money out, and I'm not saying you should, but how long could you? It's either age 73 or 75. At those ages, though, it's mandatory. You must take that out. And if you don't take the right amount out, it's a 25% penalty on top of the taxes. So it can be very painful if you don't do that right. I know that the accounts generally will send you a statement, especially when you get to that age of, hey, you're supposed to do this. But I'm sure a lot of times people who like to do taxes on their own through no fault of their own can oftentimes either miss it. Right. How does the RMD process work? How do you, as a financial advisor or retirement advisor, help people with the RMD process? Because I know in the beginning you're helping with the income plan, but now we've also got to start taking out enough for Uncle Sam. Right. Do you do that, or is that outsourced more to a CPA? Well, the CPA will, finalize the numbers and make sure everything looks right and put it on the right line on your tax return. But yeah, we do help people figure that out. And, there's a formula. The formula is you have to look, let's say your required minimum distribution is 73. That's the age for you. Okay. Technically, you have till April 1st of the year following the year you turn 73. But if you do wait, now you're going to have to take 2 distributions in the following calendar year. So take it in the year you turn 73 or the year you turn 75 to avoid a double taxation in the following years. That's one trap that people can run into. Right there. Another one is that if you're still working and you have a 401k, you do have to take required minimum distributions from all your IRAs, but not your 401k.
if you're still working. So people don't realize that.
Oh, wow.
They think they have to combine everything all together, and if you're retired, you're due. But if you're still working and you're adding to your 401k, you can remove the balance of that account from your required minimum distribution calculation. But one of the things that you want to make sure you get right is, when is the right time for you to start taking money out of your plan? It might not be the absolute drop dead, you have to take it out then. But boy, you don't want to miss that date because the penalties are massive.
Yeah, and they will add up over time. You can get started on your own retirement freedom roadmap, which will include your tax analysis right now. Call 855-255-1128. When you do that, we will also send you a complimentary copy of Rob Guy's book here, Retire Free, the steps that he takes you through the process. As he said a few minutes ago, when we've sent this out and you come into the office, you'll have a chance to go through this. You can highlight it. You can start writing down your questions. Fantastic tool for you to get started. Great conversation starter for you and your spouse. Come on in, get started on your own, no cost. Retirement Freedom Roadmap, 855-255-1128. More of the Retirement Revolution, Boston, when we get back right after this.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter, the one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Welcome back to the Retirement Revolution with financial advisor Rob Guy. He's the founder of Tax and Investment Advisors. We're going through some of the birthdays and anniversary numbers you need to pay attention to for your retirement. I'm going through the notes, though, and I didn't really see an age or when you like to get started on estate planning. There should be one, don't you think? It's like, hey, by this time, you better start doing it. Or do you really think it's more up to family dynamic? Who have you spoken to recently about estate planning?
Well, you're right. It does come down to the family dynamic, but it's also important to understand estate planning isn't just for elderly people. Estate planning is for everybody. Everybody should have at least a will, a power of attorney, a healthcare proxy, just those basic documents, maybe a revocable living trust, those different types of things. But I'll tell you, one of the situations that I was talking about that gentleman earlier who came in and we were talking about the different ages at which he might want to claim Social Security. Well, one of the things that came up during our conversation was that he was on a second marriage. And he and his wife both had children from their prior marriages. Okay. Well, that can actually complicate things quite a bit. And there's a lot of unintentional mistakes that can be made there. So let's say, for example, you are on your second marriage and you've named your spouse as beneficiary of everything. And you pass away. Now all your assets, your retirement plans, everything go to your new spouse. Well, if she doesn't change her plan, her kids might end up with everything, or vice versa, and your kids get nothing. Okay, I've seen this happen many times. Now, very unusual situation, but let's say they died in a common accident. Well, the government's going to determine who died first, even if it's a fraction of a second. And then all that money is going to go from estate A to estate B. If you don't have a plan in place, that you could unintentionally disinherit your entire family. That's something that can definitely happen. Other things that we see happen is somebody still has their ex-spouse as the beneficiary on their account. So many times the biggest account you have is your IRA or your 401k. And you go out, you're remarried, and you redo your will, and you think everything is all set. Well, guess what? Your IRA and your 401k don't go through your will, and they don't go through your trust either. So you could have the best will and the best trust ever set up, but it's going to go to whoever you named as beneficiary on that account. Now, maybe you opened that account 30 years ago and you named your ex-wife or even your mother or somebody as beneficiary on that account. If you don't update that plan, the people you want to get the money are not going to get the money.
I want to be clear on that again. Even having a will, whoever's on the beneficiary designations of your 401k or 403b, that's where that's going to go.
That's right.
So if you start one, in your 20s or 30s and you happen to work for a company for 30 years and you never changed it, that's where that's going to go, no matter what you say in the will.
Unless you've left your will as the beneficiary, which you would never do, because a will guarantees probate. What a will is instructions to the probate court, okay? The benefit of a beneficiary designation is it avoids probate. So anything you have, life insurance, annuities, 401ks, IRAs, these things that you name a beneficiary on, they go right around the will. The will has absolutely nothing to do with who's going to get that money.
Okay.
Neither does a trust, by the way, unless you, again, left the trust as beneficiary.
That's what I was just going to ask you about. Is there also a financial threshold or a family dynamic where you determine, I think this group, this family needs a trust, this one doesn't? Is that determined by numbers? Is that determined by how many kids, what kind of assets? When do you start to suggest, I think we need a trust?
So there's different types of trust. There's your basic revocable living trust, and then there are irrevocable trusts. They both serve different purposes. You might want to have an irrevocable trust, potentially, and you want to speak with an attorney about this before you do anything. But if you're trying to avoid, for example, Massachusetts estate tax, Massachusetts does have an estate tax, okay? So you could use an irrevocable trust to try to avoid some of that estate tax. Or maybe you're doing long-term care planning and you want to set it up so that you could qualify for mass health. Maybe you'd use an irrevocable trust in that scenario. But generally, most people are going to use revocable living trusts, and there's really no income threshold for that. What a trust allows you to do is to control the money essentially from the grave. So if you just leave it in a will or directly through beneficiary designation, once that person has the money, they have it, they can do whatever they want with it. With a trust, you can actually determine who gets what and under what conditions. So maybe you have 4 kids and 3 are doing great, but one has a drug problem or an alcohol problem or a gambling problem, whatever it is. You know if you just left them money straight out that it probably wouldn't work out so well. You could leave money in a trust for them so that it is doled out to them in a manner in which it's going to be best for them.
Rob, thank you for letting me join your program today. Thank you for watching the program. You can get started right now on your own retirement freedom roadmap. And even before that, when you call the phone number, we'll send you a complimentary copy of Rob's book here, Retire Free. You can start reading through it and earmark it. And when you bring it into the office, you'll have your specific questions for him. Thank you so much for watching. Call and get your own no-cost retirement freedom roadmap. I'll be back next week.